Hey guys, it's Kane with another weird blaster project. This one is either the Plusblow 8 or the Kanetana 0.10, depending on how you look at it, and depending on what I name it when I get around to publishing files on Thingiverse. Some of you may recall that I did a double drum magazine a while ago, and this was somewhat inspired by that. Obviously, it's not a drum magazine, it's just a regular straight path, but it uses the same sort of bidirectional loading gate where you can load darts into either magazine depending on which side you load from. Like before, it's retained by a magnet. Like so many of the blaster systems that I make, I created this without really having a plan on how it was all going to come together. At one point, I thought this was going to be a cross-eyed Springer. However, I later determined that even cross-eyed, I wasn't going to be able to make everything fit and connect the way that I wanted to. As so often happens, this project turned into a blowgun. For a long time now, I've always wanted to make a blowgun where it had two barrels and you used a trigger to switch from one barrel to the other. So you could put your face up and blow a dart out, pull the trigger, and then blow another dart out. Most of the time, I just envisioned this as like a simple break action, double-barreled shotgun sort of design. No magazines, just load one dart into one barrel and fire one dart at a time. However, after my dreams of making this magazine system work on a Springer were dashed, I decided to resurrect that idea in this magazine fed system. I did try to do a valve system like this once before on a blaster called the Triple Blow. The Triple Blow was a very early prototype. Basically, it was the Plusblow 4, except with three at once. As some of you know or have figured out, the Triple Blow never went anywhere. And part of that is because that aforementioned valve system didn't work very well. It had a lot of dead space, and it had a lot of airflow resistance. So, once it got through the valve, there just wasn't that much left to shoot the dart. And while it did work, it was profoundly unimpressive. This valve system is a lot more successful than the first one I did for the Triple Blow. In particular, in terms of airflow, it's pretty solid. It doesn't feel like I'm blowing through a small hole when I apply air. In terms of leakage, well, it leaks kind of badly, but for a blowgun, that's not really a big performance issue. Um, and dead space isn't too bad either. It's about equivalent to going through that much extra PVC. So no big deal there. Uh, the main problem, and the reason I never made this a proper trigger, is that the friction's real bad. I have to push here, and it kind of gets stuck, and then it snaps into place. And if I had to have a bunch of mechanical linkages, be they, gears, levers, what have you, to kind of mechanically move this action into a trigger here, that would make that whole situation even worse, and the trigger pull would be a nightmare. And it would be even worse after you've switched from one barrel to the other. To switch back, you would have to push the trigger forward. And yeah, that's not going to be nice with such a stiff trigger. So I'll probably just wind up either making this just a double mouthpiece where you just have to move your face from one hole to the other, which is what I was trying to avoid. Or I might try making this into some sort of air gun and just have a separate air tank attached to each barrel in place of this valve here. There's also a remote possibility that I'll try and improve the valve and make a better lower friction version. I'm confident I could do better if I tried again and just went a little harder with it. I didn't use any O-rings to make the seal, so everything just has to fit closely and seal that way. And that's a contributing factor to the friction problems. The unfortunate fact is that if I do use O-rings, I can make it seal really nice, but to have the low friction I'm looking for, I will also need to lubricate in there, so you might end up getting some lubrication on your darts as well, down your barrel, all that. Um, It's not really that big of a deal. I know a lot of Nerf mods have custom breeches that are lubricated in that fashion, but I try and avoid getting any lubrication outside of places where it's sealed inside the blaster and isn't going to be touching the darts or anything else. Loading this thing requires I push this forward to pull the bolts back, and like the other Kanetana variations, you just push the darts in through the side. If you're fancy, you can grab a couple darts at once and kind of smash them in together. And since there's two magazines, you just push into the other side to load the other side. Now that we got a few darts loaded, let's do a little firing. So first we gotta close the bolt by pushing this forward, and then you fire the first barrel just by applying air here. And to switch the barrel, we push this switch just to the other position, and the other barrel becomes available. Like other pusher breeches, provided you have the ammo loaded, I can cycle the breech a couple times in a row, 3 times in a row in that case, and I just load that many darts into each barrel. And again, fire the first barrel, applying air, and then I have to push on the other side because I was switched to the other barrel. And now I have another shotgun ready to fire. So that's basically all about this guy. Thanks for tuning in to learn about whatever this is. I didn't initially put it on Thingiverse because I thought it was too janky and not really worthwhile. But I've changed my mind, and once I get my files sorted out, I'll put it on Thingiverse. That may or may not be before I post this video, but if it's after it, it won't be too long. So, aside from all that, cool kids tell you to like and subscribe, so yeah, do that. Also, I guess eat your vegetables.